I'm David Grissom, and I play on records, I write songs, I produce records, I play lots of gigs, and around here at PRS I sort of help them design guitars, I guess, but it's been a 25-year process of sort of making suggestions and having input on how to make the guitars better. It's still the guitar, definitely. There's a couple things going on, and I've been talking to Paul about, I've got this one that is the cream of the, I mean, it's just, for some reason, it all comes together. Like, they're all great. I mean, I can go to any music store anywhere and pull one off the wall and be fine with it, play a gig, make a record with it, whatever. But there's one in particular that really has just got, the neck shape is slightly different. I don't know whether it was a mistake. So we've talked about maybe possibly, just adjusting the tooling on the neck shape a notch to get, and it wouldn't be drastic. I don't think you'd feel it. The average person may not feel it that much, but I feel it like a lot because I'm just so bonded with that guitar. So there might be a little bit of reverse engineering. Like, there were some things on the first year that we've gotten away from a little bit. I'm not a huge fan of binding on the neck, and I like a little more rounded feeling, more of a vintage guitar, a guitar that's been played for a long time. And I know in theory that doesn't change with binding, but when I look down and see the binding, so it may be that an option might be to get it without binding. But I'm also really excited about some of the things Paul showed me today that they're doing to the guitars now before they leave the factory. And I don't know, I think I'm afraid if I told you he would have to kill me, but it was like literally something he did in about 90 seconds that I brought that guitar that I'm talking about, my favorite one, and he showed me what he did, and I heard the change in a brand new instrument, and I kind of reluctantly let him do it to mine. And I was like, I heard it. And then not only that, but they've got a new thing they're doing here, finishing frets, that he did right in front of me. And he gave me the tools to do it at home. And it's like, I've had guitars that are plecked before, and this is better. I mean, this is like, it's amazing. So, as far as the DGT goes, we're not changing the pickups, we're not changing the control layout. We might tweak the neck shape just a notch. But I think that, for me personally, that'll be a little better. For the average person, I don't know what most people prefer, but with some of the changes they showed me they're doing, some of the things they found out, I mean, some of the smartest people that I know of in terms of instrument making and physics and acoustics and engineering here, it's remarkable. Like, if you can make a guitar sound 25% better the day it leaves the factory, it's pretty exciting. I think it bodes well for, and it makes sense now that I see what they're doing. It makes sense, but it's like when he told me what he was going to do to my guitar, I was like, "You're not doing that to my guitar." And then I played it, and I'm like, "Holy cow!" And then he did the little fret thing, and I'm like, "There's like." Every note rings. There's no, and he showed me how minute he had a way to show me how minute the little discrepancies in my frets, some of which could be from playing it a lot, but it had been recently refretted. How those little discrepancies can make a note buzz just the tiniest bit or fret out. So anyway, I'm happy. I don't even know what the color is. People ask me all the time. It's sort of like a tiger, or it's like a violin amber, I think. I don't know. He made some guitars 10 years ago or 9 years ago that he called violin guitars, and they have Pernambuco necks, which is the wood that they make violin bows out of. And I asked him to make me a DGT with all those, with that Pernambuco and the same color and nitro, but I asked for moons, no birds. So I've got this incredible, really expensive instrument that has moons in it, which is I'm kind of meat and potatoes. I just take the moons, and so that's what that guitar is. And it's it's so weird how you can take the same guitar, you can take the same amplifiers with the exact same components, with the wires all going in the same direction and everything, and they all sound a little different. And so, but I also think that a big part of why I love that guitar is because it's been played so much. And I think that's what, with the DGT, we've tried to get a guitar that people want to play a lot. And I think at PRS, that's kind of the whole philosophy here, is to make you want to play guitar and not just hang them on the wall. There's like 3 or 4 that I favor a lot, but one in particular. And, I think that there is something to be said for your guitar. If you have your guitar and you just play it and play it and play it, it sort of takes on a little bit of you. And guitars sound better the more they're played. You have to, there is upkeep and maintenance, and I've had that guitar refretted once, that takes a fair amount of playing to get a guitar with those larger frets to need to be refretted. And it's got a lot of bruises and nicks, and I'm proud of every one of them.
Are you ever worried about getting a guitar refretted and not coming back the same?
I am. I do worry about that. In fact, when I refretted this guitar, I got it back and I was like, it's brighter. It sounds brighter. And it was traumatic for a couple of days because I'm like, my guitar. And then it settled in and I played it more. But to what Paul and Lenny did today to the guitar in 10 minutes, all of a sudden it's like totally back, if not better than it was before. It's amazing. I listened to it acoustically first.
Okay.
I want to know. I want to hear it ring like that. And you just handed me this one, so I don't. And my go-to setting is usually try to tune it too. So, and I play on, I haven't even looked at this amp. I don't know how it's set, but with it that clean and bright, I can play, I can chick. I'm really influenced by whatever's coming out of the amplifier. It makes me play a certain way, which is, I've always favored amplifiers that let my touch really come through. So with that tone too, I might play the neck pickup, which it's actually, I don't have it turned up very loud, but there's a lot of gain going on there that I didn't. And I think really, I can talk over that volume, but you can hear the bloom and the little upper harmonic trying to creep in, and that's sort of coming out of a combination of the guitar itself and then the way I'm playing, hitting the strings, which is an often underrated component in guitar tone, is these two things right here. So, so when I pick up a guitar, I want to know that it has that in it, or I like to know that it has that in it, and sort of I guess you sort of size the guitar up, and then what are its strengths, and then it depends on what I'm going to do with it. But like this is great. I could take this right now. I might.
Hey,
I might. It's the hardest question I get asked all the time. How do you pick a favorite between Wes Montgomery and Albert King? I don't know. Jeff Beck is the pinnacle of rock guitar for me. But I would also say that I have the same admiration for what Keith Richards did, what Mike Campbell, the parts that Mike Campbell comes up with, what Scotty Moore did with Elvis. You know, and if you're talking about rock guitar players, I'm just looking for, you know, I'm intrigued by a unique voice and tone and approach, and groove. It's just, you know, to me, it's music. It's not like one style is better than the others. Does it affect me emotionally, and does it have a pocket? Does it groove? And the guys that I mentioned in their own ways, sort of, Scotty Moore and Jeff Beck have sort of reinvented the wheel in the way, and then you get, you know, in the 70s and 80s, even into the 90s, guys like Mike Campbell and Keith Richards kind of redefine, you know, orchestrating guitars within a rock context, and in a way that they all fit together beautifully, but it still had grease on it, and I'm all for keeping the grease on it. Man, I'd love to play with Clapton. I would love that opportunity. I got to play with the Allman Brothers for a few weeks. It was 3 of the best weeks of my life, and so I'll take that 3 weeks and we can call it a day right there. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to play with Clapton. I'm trying to think. You know, it's really different now. There aren't that many tours going out. The days of sort of being, you know, a guitar player in a band that has that many hits doesn't hold the same appeal for me than it used to, because I just feel like a lot of times in those situations, and not everyone is the same, but you basically are recreating the records. In effect, you're in a cover band, and I'm kind of I kind of got juiced up again on improvising and blowing, and so the playing I do with my band and is you know, is about as much fun as I have. And then I'm, you know, sort of also made a commitment and an effort to really cultivate my studio work in Austin, a lot of which is from my house. I do a lot of work for people in my home studio to sort of try to stay off the road a little bit, which allows me to focus on my stuff more. And if I have sessions paying bills more, then I'm not obligated to get in a bus with some, you know, for weeks on end, in a situation I don't really want to be in. I don't know. You want one? You think it's a good idea?
I think it's a damn good idea.
Well, let's talk. We should do it.
Should we go twist Paul's arm?
We can talk to Paul. They've mentioned it to me before,
Okay.
and I'm like, yeah, but can I see it first? Mm-hmm. And the same with the amp.
I would be happy to be the exclusive retailer
Okay.
of the DGTSE.
Well, I don't know if that would go over well with some of the other.
A custom run maybe to see how they do. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for it. I think that what I see, I mean, you know, I try to listen to as much new stuff as possible. I go on Spotify and listen to like the top 50. Mm-hmm. Every couple of weeks, and like there's barely a guitar on it. But you know, the guys that I know in Austin, you know, younger guys, it's like, it's so, I mean, making a living playing music now is really tough. And so to come up with, you know, a couple grand, 2,500, whatever, 3,000 to buy a guitar is tough. I mean, it was tough for me back then. When I play a live gig in Austin now or do a session, I'm making the same money I made about 20 years ago. And that's okay for me because I have other stuff that I do. But that money doesn't go as far anymore. And Austin is a really expensive city to live in. And that doesn't go just for Austin. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to see more people be able to get their hands on something that, because it is a different PRS. It is different. It has its own little, I mean, it's kind of the most vintage inspired, I think, meat and potatoes instrument that they make.